President Obama is spending this weekend in Washington after an historic trip to Cuba and Argentina. The first family spent most of the week on the road. While in Cuba, President Obama met with leader Raul Castro along with dissidents in the island nation. It was the first time in decades a sitting commander-in-chief traveled to Cuba, just 90 miles from the tip of Florida. You have to go back to 1928 and Calvin Coolidge. The president's trip didn't come without controversy, especially in light of the terror attacks in Belgium. That's our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page. You can also weigh in on Twitter. Joining us in our newsroom is our panel led by our senior legal analyst, Chris Tritico, our Democratic media consultant, Mustafa Tamiz, and Republican strategist and public policy analyst, Jackie Bally. Good morning.
Good morning.
So did he accomplish his goal while in those other countries, Cuba and Argentina?
You know, in Cuba, the goal was to open lines of communication, and I don't know, time will tell what's going to happen there. The president went there with one goal in mind, I think, and that was to get the Cuban people looking at democracy for the first time, and that goal, I think, was clearly accomplished. The Cuban people saw for the first time a Cuban president questioned by Western media without the constraints of the Cuban government holding them back. And to that end, Jackie Bally, you saw a Cuban president for the first time saying, wait a minute, you can't talk to me that way, and the Western media saying, yes, we can.
And then, unfortunately, we had the travesty in Belgium, and then we were all looking to our president, our leader, and he's at a baseball game. And then after that has a press conference with ESPN, which was quite baffling. So his behavior, his demeanor was, and I'm going to use a word he likes to throw out all the time, very unpresidential. But then, as I said weeks ago when we talked about this trip, the president really doesn't care what his constituents think, and he showed that with his actions.
Well, you've been highly critical. You've been highly critical of him not leaving Cuba when Belgium happened.
No, I was not leaving Cuba, because I was not critical of him going to Cuba.
I understand that. Let me finish my question.
But unfortunately,
let me finish my question.
The Belgium issue happened.
You were highly critical of him not leaving Cuba when the Belgium attack happened.
No, that's not what I said. I was highly critical of his actions.
Okay.
At least have a press conference, not with ESPN.
And I saw him in a press conference with the president of Cuba saying we're standing with Belgium and we're doing everything we can, and I've dispatched the Secretary of State to do the things that need to be done. I recall President Bush reading a book to elementary kids as planes were flying into the World Trade Centers on 9/11, and he didn't leave. And I recall...
I didn't say President Obama should have left.
I recall President Reagan being on vacation when 68 Americans were killed, and he stayed on vacation. Were they wrong?
Again, I did not say President Obama should have left. I said he should have been presidential. That's a word he likes to throw out. So going to a baseball game and doing the wave, and then shortly thereafter doing the tango, no, those are not presidential moves.
Okay.
That was wrong.
Did he accomplish his goals in Cuba?
I think that we're confusing on talking tough than being tough. While the president was doing tango, there was a drone attack launch to kill the #2 guy in ISIS.
That worked.
That worked, right? While he was at the correspondence dinner, he took out bin Laden. So this notion that you have to just act tough in order to rally the world is really off base. The president's doing the right things. If he were to go to the Situation Room and pretend like he was going to be active and take some really good pictures of him, he could have, given away the attack that they were planning against the #2 guy in the ISIS, which they were successful in taking out. We should be measuring people on results, not on what they look like and what they sound like. And the current challenge in the Republican primary is it's all about being a strong man. It's all about being a tough guy rather than having substantive, meaningful thing that can make this world a safer place.
What about that, Jackie? We did get the #2 guy in ISIS while he was in Cuba.
Yes, the president lucked out when it came to that, yes, because this is the same president.
How do you know that was
this
lucky?
is the same president that said ISIS is contained. That's why he's lucky. He said the problem with ISIS is resolved. ISIS is contained. Are you going to deny that he said that too? I'm sure you both will. But he did say that. ISIS is contained. When we discovered that is incorrect, his own intelligence was telling him that is incorrect, then this happened. So yes, he did luck out with that.
Okay, let me go.
Because this is the man who said there's no problem.
Let me go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
Okay. Okay, let's head over to Twitter. We're going to take a look first at a tweet from Charles Krauthammer, who wrote an opinion piece in the Washington Post, I believe. He says, as the world burns, the president goes on an ideological holiday in Havana. You don't dance while your friends bury their dead. And then at Mandyland says, can you guys believe that the president had the nerve to do the tango while there's a crisis? I can't believe this is even really a thing, people. And then Juan Williams appeared on Fox News and defended the president and said, you know, there is a threat, but if you react to it out of fear, I think you can paralyze the country.
I mean, it kind of shows that the whole kind of shows this whole show. I think you've got this whole wide range of ways to handle these things. Let's talk about Argentina for a minute. The president went to Argentina, and we got 30 seconds left. The president went to Argentina, discussed the changes in Argentina and the new president.
And he also told several people in an audience that, hey, you guys are looking at socialism. You're much younger. If socialism works for you, that's okay. This was an opportunity for our president to go and say, look, our system works. Why don't you try that and show the benefits of capitalism? To go in there as an American president and say, yeah, socialism is okay. If that's what you need to do, go ahead and try it. That's what our president did. Very unpresidential.
50 years of isolation has gotten us nowhere. By opening up Cuba, you're more likely to democratize somebody in this hemisphere. And that's important not just for Cuba, but for the entire hemisphere.
All right, we're going to leave it right there.